Definitely know I'm not the only one excited to see Steve Carell back in a comedy. Like, come on. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my review for Space Force Season 1 coming to Netflix, which stars the likes of Lisa Kudrow, Steve Carell, Ben Schwartz, Tawny Newsome, John Malkovich, Noah Emmerich, Don Lake, Jimmy O. Yang, and Diane Silvers. This is a show that, when they announced it, I was like, this could easily end up being a gimmick. But at the same time, I was also very excited because it's not just created by Steve Carell, it's also created by Greg Daniels, who did The Office and Parks and Rec, two shows that I absolutely love. So again, I was looking forward to this. I was also very nervous about it because of the gimmick nature that it possibly could be, but I'm actually really excited to see and say that this is a really funny show, and one that is not going to be for everyone. Definitely people are going to feel that this is going to be, they want it to be The Office, but it's not going to be that type of humor. This is more of a Mel Brooks type humor. It feels like a parody, and I really feel like if Mel Brooks was still creating awesome comedies today, this would have been one of them. And I feel like he would actually be really proud of what this show is, because that is the type of humor you're getting here, is that parody nature to not just our government, not just to our population, not to just our world, but in general to everything fitting around that. Of course, if you guys are new here, make sure you're going to hit that like and subscribe button. That way you guys don't miss out on content like this on a daily basis, where I love talking movies early, I love talking TV reviews early, and in general, I just love being a geek like you probably. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below, let me know your guys' thoughts as well. You guys excited for Space Force? Are you not? Have you already watched it? Let's discuss it. Space Force is about a people tasked with creating the 6th branch of the armed services. And of course, yes, this is a, it's coming off of stuff that has happened in our administration today. And just within that, again, when this was announced, it could have easily turned into a gimmick. And I think there are gimmicky jokes in here. I'll be honest in there. I think there are some jokes in here that will not hold up down the road after this administration, and even general past this administration. And I think the very first episode of this season was actually very worrisome to me, because while there were some funny jokes here and there, overall, I wasn't sold on the show. I liked seeing Steve Carell back. I actually loved seeing him back into a comedy role. But I didn't get the vision of this yet. I didn't get what kind of style of comedy they were going for. By the end of the second episode, I sat there in my seat and went, okay, I get it. This is what they're going for. They're going for that Mel Brooks type parody humor. And I'm all for it, because as serious as some of the characters can be in here, as serious as some of the situations they can be in here, they're also really funny. And it's when they go over the top in that serious nature that they actually make it feel like a parody in such a perfect manner. Especially episode 2, really has some of the most... I mean, I was laughing. I was rolling on the floor at some of the hilarious, stupid things that were going on in it, because it's something that I learned about because I used to be so fascinated with NASA and space and everything that they've done and all the different experiments, and they dive into some of those, and I'm just like, this is so true because it's so dumb, but it just works in all its lights. Even going off from there, the episodes going past that also touch into those and really play around with a lot of that. Yes, there are still some gimmicky jokes here and there that definitely will still not hold up, but at least it started moving forward with the vision a little bit more, and really, again, not just making fun of the administration, not just making fun of our government, and not just in general making fun of NASA. It makes fun of any sort of military, high-profile show that you've ever seen before, or movie, and it makes fun of them in a really hilarious way that does feel, again, over the top in its nature in a parody route, but also believable like it's going on in today's world. The one thing I was actually really looking forward to is when I watch something like this that obviously is going to contain political jokes. Is it hitting both sides? Is it hitting one side? Is it one-sided? And when it's like that, I like to be a little bit more fair. And, I gotta say the least, I was actually really happy to see that they kind of hit on both sides of the political spectrum. And I also like to see how they touched into that a little bit better in here, because it actually felt fair. And I'm not getting into politics here, but I like when a show or movie can take hits from both sides, and Space Force does that here. Truly, again, a lot of the reason I was really excited for the show is because of Steve Carell stepping back into the comedy route. And, he's not playing Michael Scott in here. That's the thing. I think many people are going to expect Michael Scott, but he's not Michael Scott in here. He's playing a brand new character. He's a fantastic actor, and you really feel that in here. He embodies this character. Steve Carell really becomes this general. Not just him in particular, but John Malkovich steals a lot of the scenes, especially in here. Ben Schwartz as well is just great as this media publicist guy who really works wonders in this show and fits, again, into the gimmicky kind of route of some of the jokes, but still works, especially as a business major. Some of the things he has to do in here, I can understand and see why he is. Speaking about 3 other castmates, of course, Jimmy O Yang, Don Lake, and, of course, Tawny Newsome really kill it when it comes to their roles as well. The whole cast does a good job, and I don't want to get through everyone because there are some actual big surprises in here that I did not know were in this show until they showed up, and I'm like, oh my god, my heart. Of course, when it comes to characters in a comedy series, you still want to be able to care about them in some sort of light while you're still making fun of and laughing at the things that they are doing. And Steve Carell is one of those ones that you really do care about. We saw it in The Office, we've seen it in other things that he's been in, but when it comes to this in particular, I have to say, I loved his character, but when it came to his family around him, there were certain elements that I didn't love in particular, especially when it comes to his wife and his daughter, which are kind of the 2 biggest key pieces, to be completely honest, because them 2 in particular are interesting because they have actually a really cool role to have and something that I could actually see really happening in real life, but also taken into an extreme measure that I don't think is explained or developed enough for me to care about. And I think there is a certain point in time in here where I do think they take a certain time jump, and I wish they would have just sat in there just a little bit more and kind of showed the early stages of it before taking it, because I didn't really believe in this family all too much. And in general, I believe in the chemistry, but I think there were certain elements to kind of dive into that they could have done a little bit better. And it's hard to talk about without getting into spoilers. Once you see the show, you'll probably understand what I'm feeling. Maybe you'll be completely wrong and you actually agree with what they did, but I wish they would have just spent a little bit more time with that family development. In general, that kind of goes to be with almost all the characters. Almost all the characters are a little bit surface level in here, and even when it does try to get into a little bit of depth within them, it's not done into the best light. It really just focuses in on what is going on in Space Force, and that becomes the main central priority of this show. In general, if that's the vision, that's fine, but I need to also care about these characters as well. I guess the thing is, when it comes down to a comedy, did it make me laugh? And Space Force did make me laugh. While some of the jokes, don't land the hardest, and some of them do feel like very much like a gimmick, I was smiling throughout the whole entire runtime of this show. I was laughing. It was hard to put down the show. It was a very easy binge, 30 minutes, 10 episodes each. It's very easy. It's very easy to sit down and watch this show. And, if you're just needing something to be entertained by, Space Force has got your back. Of course, before I give you guys my final thoughts on Space Force, make sure to get a comment down below. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Are you guys excited for this show? Are you not? Have you already watched it? Let's discuss it down below, guys. As well as hit that like and subscribe. And if you want to be a geek like me, if you want to keep talking movies and TV, I want to keep talking it with you guys as well. Make sure to head on over to Sandwich on Films on how to see films early. And of course, just a big thing to you and a big thing to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Space Force would make Mel Brooks so proud. I really feel like this is something he would have developed nowadays if he was still developing movies, because I love his original parodies and comedies, and I think they spoke to lights, especially when it got into certain subject matter, and I think Space Force does that. Yes, some of the jokes and some of the content in here is very gimmicky, and I wish it wouldn't have fallen into that realm, but it did, and I got over it for the most part, especially once episode 2 kicked in, and it kind of started showing me its actual vision and the style of the show was going to be. This is not The Office. This is not Parks and Rec. He is not Michael Scott. This is a completely different world with a different character. But at one point in time, I did really think, did Michael Scott direct this? Is this like Threat Level Midnight? It's not as totally bad written or done in that manner. It's actually a very well written show, and in general, actually a very well made show. But in general, I could see if Michael Scott got the really good budget, he probably would have made this. That was on an off note. I think this show really works when it goes down to its comedy and actually plays around in the military and the government style, and not just goes through the gimmicky things, but kind of goes through the past and present of NASA and maybe some of the stuff that we've done in space. I think that's when this show really works in strides. I wish it would have focused in a little bit more on its characters, especially the development of Steve Carell's family. I think that is something that the show was kind of missing, and while I was entertained for the most part, I didn't feel latched onto these characters, and certain storylines did feel a little bit, not cheated, but in general, I feel like could have been developed a little bit more, and to the point where I didn't really care. That doesn't go to say anything about the cast and crew, because I think everyone does a really good job in here and fitting into the style of this show. And, this is season 1. I really hope we get a season 2, especially after the very last episode, because I'm going to need one. So with all that said, I'm going to give Space Force a B-. Let me know your guys' thoughts on Space Force. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let's discuss it down below, guys. Thank you guys again so much for watching this, and of course, until next time, stay classy.